that situation is hard where you have the founder who's being removed against their will, which doesn't happen very often. It's something that every founder is scared of.
Yes.
You know, and it's one of those, if I had a checklist of 10 things that I know that every founder is going to want to talk about, that's one.
Yeah.
Actually, that's probably like 3 through 8.
Yes.
You know, there's a lot of terror about that. It doesn't happen very often.
How often are we talking about? You talked to 100 startups in a year.
1 out of 100.
1 out of 100.
Yeah. And you know,
and normally what causes that?
Yeah. So, you know, the starting point is investors do not want to take over your company.
Of course not.
They do not want to.
That's why they're investors.
That's why they're investors.
Yeah.
They, you know, if they're angels, they're busy playing golf or playing with their grandkids. They're not looking to be the CEO of an app company that they don't understand.
Right.
That's not what they're trying to do. They may be annoying. They may try to coach too much. They may try to interfere, but they're not trying to take over your company.
Yeah.
VCs aren't trying to do that. You know, they're betting on you and betting on you driving this company forward. They're not, probably they've never been a CEO.
Yeah.
And if they have been a CEO, they know what that is and they don't want to be it again. Right?
Yep.
So investors are not looking to take over your company. So when does it happen when these things become an issue? Like lots of things. Like you'd ask anybody who's been divorced and say, well, why did you get divorced? And you'd say, well, it kind of was here and then like all these things happened over 4 years and then we ended up. And that's how it happens.
Yeah.
It's lots of little things that, you know, a founder who started as the CEO and they were really never going to grow to be the CEO forever. And everyone tried to suggest you really should be the CTO. Let's figure out a different way to handle that. They resisted. Then they started destroying value tied to their resistance. It is, I hate to say it because I'm very founder-centric in orientation, but most of the time it's because of founder stubbornness that these things happen. That being said, you know, 1 out of 3 times, I mean, look, there are bad investors. It happens. And I've worked with founders in situations where, you know, bad investors behaving badly do bad things, you know, and it's why you always need to be, it kind of goes to something we've been talking about a lot, Blake, which is you just did this because you want to solve a problem. And now you've got to like, a business problem or a technology problem. And now you've got to figure out 20,000 things. Well, one of the things you've got to figure out is relationships. And these are relationship issues. So if you have a bad Apple investor, you've got to make sure that you're developing other relationships to keep that person, you know, in a corner. If you end up in that unfortunate situation so that they don't have the power to get you. Alternatively, if it's a situation where everyone around you is telling you you're in the wrong spot, we need to get you into a better spot. It's hard, but try to open up and be emotionally available to that conversation because they're probably right. And you know, you can save yourself and save the company by showing a little bit of flexibility.
I heard somebody describe that every relationship is just a string of conversations. There's nothing more to a relationship than the words that we exchange, you know? And so if that's the case, it's like if you start to see the signs that every time we have a conversation, it's in the negative direction, that's probably a sign that you're headed down the wrong path, right? But that makes sense. That it's not one conversation that causes this thing. It's actually the accrual of those conversations over years. That makes a lot of sense.
You know, and that's been my personal experience too. I mean, I've had, you know, just outside of providing advice, you know, both professionally and personally, it's not one conversation. It's not like this relationship was rock solid and I said one wrong thing on a Tuesday and boom, you know, irrevocably broken. No, it doesn't work that way. But you know, one of the themes we keep getting back to, it's interesting because, you know, you talk to lawyers because you want the technical details to be right. But you tell me any legal conversation, and if you talk with someone who's done this for any length of time, eventually that technical conversation is going to work into a relationship conversation. It is all about the relationships. All about the relationships. You know, and managing that, and it is, this is something I say when I'm training young lawyers, you know, people on my team all the time, which is, here's a big, like, beware of. When I have a client, you know, Blake, you call me and say, I want to do a deal with this person, these are the terms, and by the way, I don't trust them.
Yeah.
So make the contract work so that it protects me from that.
You're like,
I'm
whoa,
dude,
whoa, this
like,
is a
no,
problem.
we can't
Yes.
do that. If if you don't trust them, you shouldn't do the deal.
Yeah.
You can't contract. I can help minimize or limit.
Yeah.
But anybody with enough motivation and money,
Yes.
can penetrate anything. It's the relationships. The legal stuff helps. It defines. It forces definitions and precision around who has
But it
what
only
where.
works. It only works as good as the relationships
Only
are.
works as good as the relationships.
That's a really big.
Yeah.
That's so. It's funny though because people are going to you like you're a mechanic,
Right.
and then you're saying, "How's your relationship with your wife?"
And they don't want to talk about it. Right.
Why are you asking me that? Right.
Right.
Oh, that's really interesting.
Yeah.
But no, that's totally true. Which is that in a good relationship, you never have to fall back on the legal
Exactly.
structure.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's
Or
right.
the legal structure just goes in harmony with it.
That's right. It helps to, what it does is it ideally it should facilitate a conversation that you should be having, and we're sort of trained professionals to help make sure that, the right decisions get made in the right places to sort of head off potential issues. But what we're never going to solve is a toxic relationship.
Yes. It's almost like, I see this analogy of like, the ideal relationship between a startup and the lawyer is that you're together laying bricks behind you. You're paving the way behind you. And I think sometimes we look to the lawyer to be paving walls on either side of us to keep us in bounds.
That's
It's like,
a great
no,
metaphor.
you actually need to be walking in the same direction, and then we're going to just officiate it behind you.
Yeah.
But if you're looking to the lawyer to try to contain the direction that you're going, you're in trouble because you have to actually have a mutually agreed to direction you're walking.